surveys and this program are able to design any type of style that you want. And also size. I mean, there's no minimum requirements and there's no limitations. Tim and I have worked on projects that are 2,000 square feet, and then what are some of the bigger ones we've worked on?
About 16,000.
We've worked on projects, 2,000 to 16,000 square feet. So there's no limitations on how big or how small the home needs to be. Tim, how long have you been using this program, and what is this program?
Well, I've been doing architectural design for over 23 years, and I've been using this particular product, which is AutoCAD Revit, and I've been doing this for about 8 years now. So, and I used to think that I could see everything as a designer doing it for 23 years. You'd think I could see everything, but using this 3D software, I realized I really can't see everything. And if I can, after doing it for 23 years, you especially wouldn't be able to see, exactly everything without this kind of tool.
I mean, even as a builder, for me, looking at a plan on a piece of paper on 2D is difficult. I've been doing this for a long time. It's difficult for me to look at a plan sometimes and see, okay, envision what it's going to look like when I'm standing in my kitchen and looking out into the family room. Or if you're looking at a 2D plan, you don't get all these dimensions. You're not able to see all this detail on exterior elevation. So this program, you're going to be able to see all those details and make those decisions before the house is even under construction. So you're going to save money on change orders. It's going to streamline the building process, and that's what we're going to cover today. So what we're going to go over is a set of plans. So what you guys should expect whenever you're either designing a plan or purchasing a plan. This is what you should expect. This is what you're going to need in order to successfully build your house. So Tim's program, we get a cover page, and what's awesome about his program is it helps us budgeting and estimating throughout the design process. So his program is going to run calculations for the square footage of brick, the square footage of stone, the square footage of stucco. They're going to provide a window schedule, so it's very easy for window distributors to bid the project. Door schedules. We're going to get countertop square footages, driveway square footages, roofing squares. I mean, his program calculates all of that information for us and allows us to provide a much more detailed cost estimates and ultimately final budgets for our clients. You're also going to need a site plan, so you'll get a site plan with this program. And generally, what all my designers and architects do is they design the site plan so that it meets your architectural control committees or cities or HOAs requirements. So this particular site plan, we got a drainage plan on here, elevations on here. So all Tim needs is the boundary survey in order to generate this for you. So we'll get the boundary survey, overlay the footprint of the house onto that boundary survey. This particular project requires a culvert situation, so we have a culvert detail, mailbox detail. Then they also this particular HOA requires a clearing plan. So we got the surveyor to do a tree survey. Tim then takes that survey, then overlays the footprint of the house on top of that tree survey, and so you get to see which trees are going to be removed, if that's something that interests you, or if it's a requirement. And you can adjust the house based on what tree you want. You might have a huge oak tree that you want to preserve. You want to keep that tree throughout the building process. So you might move the house over a little bit, or back and forth a little bit to preserve that tree. Dimensional floor plan. So whenever this is pretty much your standard page. That if you guys, whenever you're designing a house, you're going to get this dimensional floor plan with everybody. But what I like about Tim and Tim's program, and what we want all of our architects and designers to do is provide this dimensional floor plan that has all these dimensions all over it, but then give us another plan that doesn't have the dimensions on it. So a more detailed floor plan. So this floor plan is calling out your doors and your windows, and it's much easier to look at. It's not as congested. I see some designs. I'll get some designs from outside designers outside of our program that have this dimensional floor plan, and then they're trying to squeeze in all this other information on here, and it's just very complicated and difficult to read. Sometimes the dimensions cut right through the size of a window. Well, with this program, with the way Tim designs this for you guys, that's not going to happen. I mean, if you got this detailed floor plan, then you have the dimensional floor plan. And then this right here is, of course, your electrical plan with a legend. You have your rear elevations and also your side elevations. We have your roof plan, and a foundation profile. And this is not your foundation engineering. This is a profile. And we like all of our designers and architects to provide this because this helps the form setters. So it's going to show your brick ledge on here. It's going to be the outermost dimensions of the forms, and it's also going to give the measurements for all your plumbing drops. So that's not your engineered foundation, but this is what the plumbing crew will use, and also the foundation contractor will use that as well. Tim?
Basically, what I'm designing a 3D model of your house in space. So basically what I'm doing is I am taking my software, which is building information modeling. A lot of times it's called BIM for short, but basically every time I draw a wall, it's drawing the sheetrock, it's drawing the exterior, let's say brick or stucco on these houses, and it's calculating all the square footages. So everything that I draw on the plans is basically creating a model of your home, so that anytime you build a custom home, when you go out into the field, you're always going to have issues that you didn't see or you didn't think about, or change orders that they're going to want to do. But basically when I'm designing your plan, I'm going to run across 90% of those issues as we are going through and building the model in space. Because I can take a cross section and cut through any given place. Like this one here, I took the first floor roof off, the second floor roof off, and I can look into the plan and look at where things are going to be and how things flow and how things work, which is a lot of times great for you for visualization, to be able to look at your plan from a different realm where it's not two-dimensional. But for me, I'm able to actually look into it and see that we've got good flow from all the places, that we have ability to get AC ducting from the first floor, through the second floor down to the first floor from the attic, so that we can take care of those issues. The next slide will show you that we can cut the second floor off. Now we're looking down into the first floor space, and it helps you get a visualization of what that's going to look like. But also it gives us the ability to make sure that we have the right number of stairs, going up, that we're going to transition onto that second floor, how those stairs are going to look and transition when we get to the top. You're able to see, some of on the first floor, the other floor I didn't show you, but was some of the ceiling treatments. You can see in here there's a circular tray there. You can see some of the beams that are coming in, here. So we can do cuts like on the next slide, where it's basically not just a cross section, but a 3D cross section, where you can kind of see a little clearer. Here's the kitchen, and the breakfast room is 2 stories with a Juliet balcony looking over, and another Juliet looking into the living room, and then you got this turret up here that's letting light shine all the way down into the breakfast and keeping light just exposed all through this area. It's very open, but without doing a cross section in a 3D form, you wouldn't be able to visualize those kind of things.
Since I've been working with Tim in this type of programming, it's avoided so many potential construction issues that you might have whenever you're designing a custom home, especially with roof lines. Tim, this program won't allow you to build a roof line that won't work.
Yeah, you cannot fudge. Like before, when I did 2D design, if I didn't understand how something was going to work, I could fudge it and make the people that are framing out in the field figure it out. With this program, it's got to work. You can't fudge it, you can't fake it. You have to have an actual geometry of a roof plan that's going to train, or it's not going to let you do that. Yeah. This is another cross section, but it gives you a lot of visualization. It gives you the stairs. This is a curved wall. The stairs are curving up, and then a dome ceiling to top everything off. Shows you some ceiling treatments where you've got the copper ceiling and tray ceiling there. So you're able to visualize some of those cuts and what you're going to see as we do cross sections. The coolest thing that most people like in this, that really helps my clients, is like you're sitting there and you see this floor plan and everything may flow nicely the way you look at it. You say, Tim, I can't understand. I got this barrel going on. I got a Juliet balcony here in my breakfast room, and I'm looking this way. So what I do is I throw a camera right there, and instantly this view is created, so that you're able to sit there and say, hey, when I'm standing there in that area, I'm seeing that Juliet balcony. I can see all the way through my family room, even see some of the upper windows. So it gives you a visualization. But one of the things that's cool, like Bryson was saying, is you may be looking at this and say, Tim, you know what? I would kind of like to have another archway right here, just a little bit of separation between my kitchen and my breakfast room. I can do that in an instant right here on the computer, whereas it's going to be a change order if you go do it out in the field when you're doing your framing. So it's a great plan to.
So with your traditional 2D design, which is probably what a lot of you are going to start out with, getting ideas. You're going to be gathering ideas on floor plans or going to home tours. This is what you're going to have. This is what you're going to see. You're going to have this 2D design on paper. But with this program, I mean, it's just you're able to see this before it's even built. Whereas, like Tim was saying, I mean, if you're in the field and you want to add an arch there, of course that's going to be a change order. The framer's going to charge you, the builder's going to charge you, and you're going to get it have a change order if you want to do those things. So by catching those things during the design phase, it's going to eliminate the change orders in the field.
This is another one, just looking maybe backwards, where you're looking from the family room, looking this way, and there's your view. And it gives you a lot of, basically now you can see that the game room's up above, and it's looking over into that Juliet balcony that we saw looking this way, that way, and there's that dome that we were talking about that's up there above there. So it's letting all of that light through, where you normally wouldn't be able to see that kind of visualization. You could even see the back stairway coming up from on the back side of the kitchen. So there's any kind of view you want to see. I would say on average, my clients have probably 20 to 30 views. Where if you were doing a 2D and you asked somebody to do that for you, they'd be charging you for those, probably $200 to $250 a view to show you those things. Where me, it's just a second and it's free. It's all part of the plan,
Because they're having to draw those.
Yeah, they're having to basically say this is what it's going to look like, and they're not very accurate sometimes too.
And these are helpful for the framer too. I mean, there's a lot going on in some of these rooms. There's a lot going on in some of the foyers. The transitions between the foyers and maybe a catwalk and a great room, and there's a lot going on there. Master bathrooms these days, they're big, and you need elevations, and the framers need those elevations, and Tim's able to provide those for them.
And I've had clients tell me, I've done a house before, and it was 2D, and when we finished, there wasn't room in the attic for my air conditioning. We had to raise a roof. I've had another client tell me when we finished, a lot of the ceiling treatments didn't work. We either had to lower the ceiling treatments or raise the roof. Well, if mine are off, I'm going to see it in that 3D view, and we're going to fix those things and address those before we actually go to full set of plans. I think there's one more view.
This is from looking into the family.
Oh yeah, family, and then that's the family view. But this gives you a good example of ceiling treatments. Without that, you wouldn't be able to kind of see. And this was a unique ceiling treatment. I'd never really done this one before, but they want kind of a circular tray with the beams leading into that tray. And they were going to, come up here and then backlight this area up here and that, and it was going to, give them the look that they wanted. But without 3D, you wouldn't be able to see, that visualization. This particular client, we played around with it, where it was just all stone. We had a mantle there. He didn't like the mantle. He said, I'd rather have a piece of artwork here and put my TV in an entertainment center over here underneath the Juliet balcony. So this is the way we ended up. But we went 3 different revisions before we actually got to that point where he said, I actually like this. Where out in the field, that would be 3 different, change orders before you got it right. And in this way, you get to actually visualize it before you actually build it. Then this one's the game room, which a lot of people don't think about their second story views that much. They think second story is just just one more story, everything extra's up there. Well, this one goes in and shows you how this one ties in to the exterior. So in the game room, you've got the railing that overlooks the first floor, and the windows, they're still at the right level where you're able to look out and see the backyard from the second floor and look through that living room. As well, you've got that Juliet balcony you can't see that's over here, and that big turret that's letting light in to this area as well. So it's going to be even though it's a second floor, it's still going to be very lit in this particular house. Now here's an example of one that I did. This is the 3D front rendering, but it was a model. We rotated it and showed the client what it was going to look like, and it does look all kind of stretched out right here because I showed it's a camera, so it's kind of like a wide angle lens. But the next picture is an actual photograph of the house after it was built.
And this house is in spring. We built this house about 2 years ago, and you can see how complex this roof line is. I mean, it would be very easy for someone designing in a 2D model to make errors on a roof line that's this complex. Whereas Tim's model, it really almost eliminates the opportunity for roof line issues. So here's the finished.
So there's the finished product of the house.
Very simple, different colors, and And Tim, I mean, I imagine if they give you specifically what colors they're going to use, you can implement that.
We can get close. The deal is that every monitor and every printer prints in different colors. So it's not going to be exact. So usually, I mean, you can tell everywhere I did stone accent and everywhere I did trim, it's the same. They just went with a different color stone, and maybe I projected a different color stucco. But I try to stick with some earth tones so you're able to see exactly what it's going to look like. But this was the original model, and then you've got the plan once it was built. Another thing that we can do is, that we do with most of our plans, is we do sun studies. So what I did with this client is he said he didn't want any of the sun to come into his living room through this butt glass here. He wanted to drink his coffee over here on this side, and where it was in the shade. And in the evening, he said when he comes home, he said, I want to have a few drinks out here and I want the sun out here so that I can sunbathe or do whatever I want. So I'm able to sit there and show him what the sun's going to do. This was the summer solstice, and we also do a winter solstice, so you can kind of see that you've got protection, or you do have the sunlight during the winter solstice. He actually did have sunlight going through all of this glass right here, which will help warm the house.
All you need in order to do this is a boundary survey.
A boundary survey, and then I pull up your address, and it gives me a GPS, and I enter in the GPS and the boundary survey for location this way, and then use the GPS for your location on your lot, and it basically is going to let me do the sun study.
And so you guys got a east-west orientation. I mean, you're gonna get to see how, you know, in the morning the sun's going to affect the breakfast room or certain areas of your home, and that might, you know, knowing that in advance during the design process, that might determine whether or not you put an awning to shade some windows or extend the porch out further, just to get some shading, or to introduce more light into the house.
We had one client, Gold, I don't know if you remember doing his house, but we took his house and rotated it 3 degrees on his lot. From the front street, you can't see a house is rotated 3 degrees, but his garage blocked the whole west side of all of his windows. And I was able to show that to him, and he was like, genius, that way I don't have to worry about shading on all of those windows, because his garage blocked it, but I only had to rotate it 3 degrees to accomplish that.
So with that, you can see, because we like the idea that kind of like the covered back porch goes out, but then we're worried that we won't get enough sun coming in, so we don't know. If
I can show you any day you want. You could ask me today, as long as it's not cloudy. You could ask me today, and I can show you what the sun would do. Any given day, any given time. And then also for people that have lots that are on hills, like if you're building in the hill country or even on Lake Conroe. This house is on Lake Conroe, so it's a 1-story in the front, 1.5 stories right here as you get halfway into the house. But by the time you get to the back, it's a full 2 stories with a walkout basement, because they had about 17 foot of drop, you know, as they were going down the hill onto Lake Conroe. So if you have a topo, you get a topography survey, you give that to me, and then I enter it into my program, and I'm able to produce something that looks like this.
Yeah, it's really important, guys. If you guys have an elevation change on your property, you're thinking probably more than 4 feet, it's going to be really advantageous for you guys to get a topo survey. Not only is that going to be potentially necessary for engineering, but also in estimating for dirt work and things like that. It's going to give us a better idea on how much dirt you're going to need for the project. If you have a severe elevation change. Now this is really severe. I mean, 17 feet is pretty substantial. They ended up going with a walkout basement. It's kind of hard to believe you got walkout basements 20 miles from here, 20 minutes from here. But we've done a few of those in this area. This is a project we're working on in Cyprus right now, and this okay. So we got the rotation. This is a Gothic style, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, he said, I want old English, Gothic, Harry Potter kind of style. He goes, when you walk up to it, he goes, I want people to be a little scared when they walk up to my house. And he said, I want these gun turrets up here, about 40, 50 feet in the air.
They really are.
And they're about 40, 50 feet up in the air. And anyway, he kind of wanted a little bit of a dark presentation, but he said, I kind of want it like a castle, an old world castle. And so we designed this for him, and you know, this is like a 10,000 square foot house, so it's a pretty large house. But we really didn't. I mean, I didn't even realize the volume and height and what it was going to, the dynamic of it.
This back porch here is massive.
I mean, we had to go to the very max size of glass that we could actually get to do those windows. We had to call the window company and say, how much square foot of glass can we do these in? So it was a very unique project. But the cool thing about this is the next video, we actually have a drone flying around the project, kind of showing you what the house looks like.
So the exterior's pretty much finished on this house. At this stage, they're working on mechanicals right before foam insulation. They're painting the house right now. I always joke with them. It's on 99. They're currently living in this trailer.
That's a double wide to kind of give you a size.
But they're probably 2 miles off 99, and every time I'm driving down 99 on Michigan, I'm looking for these finials up here. I haven't seen them yet, but I imagine you can see those from a ways away.
I mean, I see them when the leaves aren't on the trees, but when the leaves start getting on the trees, I can't see them anymore. But very, very grand, huge, tall house.
But again, it's an example of every single. I've seen probably 10 different styles, Tim. All projects we've worked on together, from French country to hill country to Gothic to modern. I mean, you're capable of in your program. You and your program are capable of doing it all, and we can help you guys build every single style that you're interested in. You guys have any questions for us? Any building questions or design questions?
If we have our own plans, is that something you can work with?
Typically, our program that we use for our builder, if you use him, which is Bryson and Charlie, if you use them, they're going to give you credit for my design plans. So typically, what I tell people is, if you've already got your plans, let me redo them, put them in 3D, and you're going to get the credit for it anyways. If you're building here locally in Houston, then use these guys. So that's the opportunity that you do have. If I get a client that comes to me and says, I've already got my plans, I'm going to use these to build the house, but I want to see it in 3D, then you can give me your plans and I will customize a fee for you. If I'm not doing your final documents, I'm just doing a 3D visual, then I can cut you a different price. But for those of you who are interested in using our process, we charge $1.35 a square foot for total covered area. So anything that's covered, like porches, garages, anything like that, or even future space, we charge $1.35 a square foot, and you're able to get all the products, everything that we've shown you, come with that as part of the package.
And that $1.35 a square foot it's in 3 separate installments. And as Tim is designing the house, this is what's so special about our program. As he's designing the house, we're preparing estimates for you guys. So as we get more detail on the house, we're including more detailed cost estimates. So we make sure you guys are staying on budget throughout the whole design process. So before you guys even get started, before Tim even begins designing your plan, we want to meet together and come up. I'm going to give you guys a cost estimate before you guys even get started with Tim, so you know what to expect, and you can might modify some of your selections and the square footages. Because every single one of my clients, I've built 100+ homes. Every single one of my clients has had a budget.